Oh, it's time to talk about everything going on in the world of pro wrestling. This week in wrestling with Chad Cooper is back. We're recording a little early this week, so we'll just be talking about WWE and NXT. Since it's Wednesday, we haven't had the chance to watch the most recent AEW Dynamite Koopa Loop. We just had Saturday night's main event. But before we get there, I want to talk about one or two things that happened previously, which was on SmackDown the night before. I think they've got a couple really good recent heel turns on SmackDown. First with Gargano and Ciampa. I thought they did a great job with these guys who they've kind of been floundering since they were pulled up from NXT. These were two of the all-time greats in NXT. This would be as if you had, two real blue chip prospects brought up from, your double A team. They're a little older, so maybe they're not these can't miss guys, but they were so popular in NXT. And Triple H seemed like he worked so well with Gargano and with Ciampa. We all just kind of expected that they'd be really successful on the main roster. And I think little by little, they've been getting over more, but they weren't over really yet as baby faces. They were just sort of like, oh, Ciampa and Gargano. Now, as a heel team, there's something there with them.
Yeah, it's funny how you can go from one set of eyes to another set of eyes and kind of lose a little bit of pop. It's because not just them. It's because you have a loaded roster with the WWE, and there definitely is a place for them. Ciampa had been floundering a little bit for a while now, I think, with the Miz and trying to do stuff with him, and then he succumbed to injury. But I think this is a natural a feel for them to be heels. Now, didn't they go on and lose the titles that night to the War Raiders?
Viking Raiders? So Viking Raiders beat Judgment Day on Monday.
That's it, Judgment Day.
So we've got
Monday. Okay.
So that was Monday. Okay. So SmackDown we've got Gargano and Ciampa, and then we've got new champs with the Viking Raiders on Monday. Right. So this feels like both, and I'm glad you pointed that out, because now it feels like we're reshaping these divisions a little bit. Now we're gonna get them back, I think, to really good tag team wrestling. And it's not that we weren't before, but there was kind of a storyline running that the Judgment Day would never defend their titles. That was sort of the thing.
True.
We could have the Viking Raiders, kind of a badass team on Monday Night Raw. We've got this Weasley heel team of Gargano and Ciampa who can have these awesome matches, but kind of find a way to cheat and get out of it. I like what they've done.
It's going to help them. It'll help them more. And, they seem kind of heelish anyway. I know Gargano's, really popular, really over. But with a more of an edge, it seems like.
And you don't mean Adam Copeland.
No,
you don't want him to
be a
six-man team with Copeland.
It seems if you are a babyface tag team with the championship, even if you don't have the championship, you've got to have some sort of real babyish gimmick. And they really didn't have that. It was missing.
They were just too plain. It was just too vanilla.
A simple turn helps them tremendously and that division as well.
Quite a bit. And then what I like seeing is we've seen Nakamura now as a heel, which has been very good. He seems more motivated. And then we are getting the new bloodline starting to interact with other characters on the roster that aren't the bloodline characters. And it feels kind of fresh. It's like, oh my gosh, all of a sudden, like Solo and Jacob Fatu are standing in the ring with LA Knight and Nakamura. This is kind of out of nowhere. And I like that. And I think LA Knight losing the U.S. title was good because it gives Nakamura something. It freshens everything up. And you can elevate him coming out of it. And you can kind of move him up the ranks a little bit. He can get involved here. I just feel like they made a couple good decisions recently with the Gargano and Ciampa heel turn, with the Nakamura heel turn, kind of getting the new bloodline involved with other characters on the roster. SmackDown feels pretty fresh right now.
Yeah, the bloodline versus bloodline, there's only so much and very limited with that. We'll see the big match. January
On
6th,
yeah,
Raw
with
and
Solo.
yeah, Netflix. Oh, so that probably helps end that storyline until we get The Rock back. But that's what we want. We wanted to see other members of the roster go at it with members of the Bloodline. It makes for really good matches and really new, fresh storylines. So it's probably been something we've been wanting quicker rather than later. And I like it. It's good to see uh, them branching out and going after. Because you got to think the other members on the SmackDown roster are probably pissed off about the Bloodline just as
Hmm.
much as anybody else are. So there's all kind of ways you can go with that. It really, it it'll be interesting the direction that Roman Reigns and Solo go after that match. But we can all assume it will be led to a Rock somehow being involved at WrestleMania with those. But real good stuff right now, especially on SmackDown. Really good stuff.
So that was on Friday. Then we moved to Saturday, and we had Saturday night's main event. I think they did 2.3 million on
Crazy numbers,
NBC.
man. Yeah.
Really good Saturday night. First time they've had this show there. It felt it felt nostalgic, and I like that they presented the show a little bit different. It was the same WWE like wrestling and matches that you'll see, but they were really leaning into the graphics, the late 80s, the like 80s style, how it was used to be Saturday night's main event, and you could feel the difference there. I thought it was really fun. They brought back Jesse the Body, and what they did, they didn't throw him onto the full broadcast. That would have been too much for a guy who
Yeah.
probably not keeping up with the product as much. He doesn't know every single storyline. He hasn't been watching every Monday Night Raw and SmackDown and pay-per-view and live event for the last 10 years. So what you do, you let him come in, you let him say hi, and then you bring him in for the main event. And I actually thought like Jesse, what I remember the most of Jesse was that he always, not only was he funny and extravagant, but he would find a way to take the heel side, and like it would make sense. He would say to Gorilla all the time, "Oh, Gorilla, you love it when Hogan does that, but if Macho did that, you'd get pissed off, wouldn't you?" Like he'd really give it to him both ways. And I thought at the end of the main event match, with we can kind of skip there for a second, with Kevin Owens versus Cody Rhodes. Really good heated match between these two guys because Kevin's entire character is a guy that makes sense. It's like, dude, Cody, I helped you, and then you turn your back on me and you teamed up with the people that almost cost me my career and that cost me multiple world titles. And we were all there for you to help you beat this guy. And now you completely turned on us and you went and teamed up with him. It makes a ton of sense. They've got this great heat between them. And the finish, kind of a schmoz. We had a few different refs get knocked out. We had the different weapons involved. And that's when you heard Jesse, "Oh my God, Cody Rhodes." I know he's going ballistic on Cody and what he did. If Kevin Owens, this is a miscarriage of justice, just it was good to hear. And it definitely keeps something open for Cody and Kevin. And I think this is one of those things where I don't think they quite realized at the beginning how good this was going to come off for Kevin. And Owens does such a good job when he's given stuff like this that you can't just say that's going to be it. Like they want to extend Kevin Owens in this feud a little bit more because he's doing such a good job.
Yeah, there was one point in the match where I thought, maybe they take the title off Cody right here.
On Saturday night's main event, they do
Yeah,
this. They did the schmoz with Hogan and Andre.
sure,
Remember where
sure.
oh my God, he thought that $1 Million Man paid Hebner to get
Yeah,
surgery. He said,
yeah.
"Oh my God, he paid him to get the surgery. What did he do? The plastic surgery." And then that's
Oh,
what led to WrestleMania 4, the tournament,
yeah,
because they
yeah.
put the title up for grabs. I don't think we're gonna have a situation like this, but gotta have a comeback. We even saw Triple H, Kevin Owens pushing Triple H
Oh,
after
that
the
was
show.
great. That was so great. He just went nuts on Cody, and I like that it was done off of TV to make it look even more real. And now Kevin has photoshopped the winged belt onto all the WWE posters, the like event posters, and
He said he's gonna
on
defend
social
it.
media. He's defending the title.
This is great. This is
It's
great.
just great.
So
Oh,
he
it's
said he's going to
great.
defend it on like the house show loop on the holiday tour.
Yeah, Yeah.
This is perfect for Kevin
One
Owens.
other thing I like too about speaking about the presentation was, of course, I like the refs going old school with the long sleeves, light blue shirts, and the black bow ties. That was cool. But I liked that the entrance was narrowed, that the fans were really, really close to the WWE superstars when they came out
The
from the
little
back.
walkway.
Yeah, and that just brings old school wrestling back to me because back when I was going, that's what I remember, man. It was just sometimes these guys and gals would come from the crowd entering, but man, being that close, um, that was pretty cool
Pat,
the way they did that. It really helped with the ratings too. I
Pat,
think
Pat,
it did.
Pat Patterson said that he used to have to walk right behind Miss Elizabeth when they would go down those walkways because everybody from the crowd would be trying to touch her.
Oh yeah,
You
I
know,
bet.
and so he would have to, and Macho Man was so protective over her. He would make sure that it was only Pat because he trusted Pat because Pat was gay.
Sure,
So it was like he
sure.
didn't have to worry about Pat trying to get a grab himself. So like one of the only people that Macho Man would trust to protect Miss Elizabeth was Pat Patterson. And if you ever watch any of the old MSG shows or when you watch like the pay-per-views and they're coming down, you'll always see Pat Patterson in the group of people right behind Miss Elizabeth.
Oh
So he
wow,
could
I
like
didn't
swat
know
off
that.
because they would walk down and there's always like an official or two kind of following behind them, just in case something were to happen. But Pat was always the one walking right behind her in these like short little walkways. So yeah, we got these really good nostalgia feels, and it was it was a 2-hour show. They had 5 matches on the card. It was a pretty quick pace too because
Yeah,
they
yeah.
didn't have a whole lot of time. It's not like when you're on the network, they've got commercials to keep, they've got breaks to keep, they've got a schedule to hit. They were the commentary was just a little bit more, I think, pointed towards maybe some new audience members or people that hadn't been watching. It wasn't like over the top, but they would mention, oh, this is how this storyline started. Or if you haven't been watching, these two have been involved with this. Just because there were probably a lot of people that flipped onto NBC that maybe haven't been watching wrestling for a while. And we got Drew McIntyre and Sammy to open up. Drew gets the win. Feels like it's a strong win for Drew, but we got Sammy coming right back at him on Monday night. So I think this will continue on a little while. And it's funny because there's this group now forming of individuals that all seem to be motivated by the same thing. Drew McIntyre, Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, all pissed off that people started helping Roman Reigns and the bloodline, the guy who screwed all of them over and over and over and over again for years. They all have the same, they feel the same thing. Drew, KO, and Seth. And it's just kind of funny because Drew's a heel, KO's a heel, Seth is not maybe yet. I don't know if he's going to be, but I don't know if they group up at some point. But it is kind of interesting that we're starting to get these guys who are all now same sort of thing. They're mad at their friends that went and helped out Roman Reigns?
I'd have no problem with those three teaming up. Would you?
Yeah, no, I
I mean,
like it.
that's pretty cool, man. Yeah, a good way to start off the show. Drew and Sammy, a good, nice a win for Drew, and as you mentioned, it spilled over to Monday night where we had the brawl backstage. I think that's a really good feud for both of those, and just well done. Drew's now collecting some wins. Last we heard he had quit the WWE. He was tired of all this. CM Punk finally, got the advantage he needed to over Drew, and Drew took his ball and went home, and then Drew comes back and attacked Sammy, and here we are. So just a really good. It didn't have to be a long 15-minute match for us to get the point, and it was very well done. Good win for Drew McIntyre.
Sammy as a baby face, he can get this win back at some point, but
Yeah, just so
Drew
much
needs
better
it.
as a face. Yeah.
Drew needs it kind of coming out of the feud that he lost. He was gone for a little while. You get Drew the win here, and then you can kind of keep their feud going for a little bit. I could even see it being like something where Sammy eliminates Drew from the Royal Rumble.
Oh yeah, for
That
sure.
could be the
For
way
sure.
they
That'd be a
get
good
this
spot.
feud going and continuing on. If that was something that happened, we went to Liv Morgan and Io, and I got to give Liv a lot of credit, man. She's just improved in the ring. You could see the confidence she has. I thought this was a very good match from her. Io is excellent just to have as a partner in there. Is Io's in the IC title tournament too?
Yes.
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think she is still alive there.
And
She could
I
be.
think she might be one of the favorites to win it, to be
I
honest
think
with you.
so. I would say it's like her, the remaining women. I think it's her, Dakota. There's Natty, Lyra, Raquel. I think are still in the mix.
Yeah,
Some of
yeah.
them. So they're
Look,
some of the
I've been down on Liv. I told you last week I was kind of over her and Rhea. I thought that needed to end in a hurry, but respects to Liv Morgan here. She took a shoot
shot
knee to the
to the
face.
nose.
Yeah, in which I immediately thought, okay, her nose is broken. Double X is going to go up, and we're going to have some kind of wonky finish here, medical. But no, she showed her toughness in a really good match, really good showing, and a really nice win for her. That kudos. She's back in good graces in my book, Gino.
And then when they asked after the match, Joe Tessitore and Jesse were kind of standing
I love
together.
that too. I love that kind of above
The
the
old,
audience towards
yep,
the back.
the old school where you just get the different view because they're standing and you see the audience all behind them. And they just checked in with them at the very beginning of the show. Then they came in and checked in one more time, and then Jesse joined the guys for the main event. And Jesse said, "Oh, I love that Liv Morgan," and he said,
Yeah.
he said, "Wow, she's a tough one." And then he said, "This is how you know." Sometimes he said that Dominique, he can sure pick him. And it's like Dominic. Thanks, Jess. Though we appreciate that. The body. We had Gunther versus Finn and Damian Priest.
Good
I
match.
Good match. Gunther needs the win.
Yes.
We're gonna get a Priest Balor something, and then I wonder how much more legs Judgment Day has as a group,
Not much. I mean, they were
right?
still floundering on Raw Monday night. So
Because we could see them easily split into just uh Dom and Liv some together as a package. And you could even see, Finn and JD as a team. JD was a guy that Finn actually trained, and there's always been this like he wants to be the next Finn Balor thing. Those two guys could have a story, stay a tag team for a little while, eventually have a turn. I'm kind of mixed right now on Finn because I think Finn's been doing a lot better work recently, and I like that they've kind of elevated him a little bit, but he just keeps losing these big matches.
yeah,
And then where do you
yeah,
go? Where does Finn go after this? Losing to Gunther, losing to
yeah. That's
Priest.
a good point. Yeah, it's not looking good for Judgment Day right now. It's
No,
just not. I
no.
mean, you Liv got him got him a tight, got them to defend their titles on Monday night. You saw where that went. So it's not looking good for Judgment Day. I don't know how much longer, and as you said, legs. I don't know how much longer they can stay
No.
within a group.
I think it's about time. Now, one of the greatest moments that we will ever have to discuss on this podcast was the inaugural WWE Women's United States champ, Chelsea Green. And it's
uh,
I hope there are some people out there who have just been able to listen to the entire arc of us loving Chelsea. In particular, you know Chelsea, like you know
sure,
her
sure.
personally. So, and
Yes.
we've always been fans of hers because she does so much with everything she's given. She's a real character in wrestling. She goes all in. If she's asked to do something that's the smallest, littlest thing, she makes you remember her when you leave for something that was so stupid and you're thinking about her. And that's her job. Mick Foley used to talk about this. If they give you 30 seconds, you make people remember those 30 seconds. And then the next week, they're going to give you 60 seconds. And then the next week, they're going to give you 2 minutes. Then all of a sudden, you're in matches, you're in segments, and you're in the main event. That is what has happened for Chelsea. Chelsea came in the NXT Chelsea came in as someone who had good success at TNA and on the independents. And then I think 3 or 4 times when it felt like Chelsea was just about to get an opportunity, she got hurt.
Sure.
It was like, oh my gosh, she was so unlucky. And then finally, she kind of broke through with the slip on the banana peel character that she has that everybody kind of laughs at. But because she's so good, it's sort of like The Miz a little bit. She's so good at being a heel, and she's so good at like falling all over the place, taking big bumps, taking big spots. I think the spot off the ladder was the one that kind of like
Oh yeah.
put it over
Put
the
her on the
top for
map.
people.
Yeah.
That people
Yeah.
started going, oh, she's fun to laugh at, but this girl really like she puts her body on the line. There was a clip the other day that I saw floating around. I think it was Van Valet was interviewing Nick Aldis, and they asked him about working with Chelsea Green, and he started laughing. He said, "It doesn't feel like work. It's like a night off. I've known her for a long time. She makes it so easy for you when you work with her because she's just giving you so much material to bounce off." And I I know it's just it's a United States championship. It's like a made up title that is
It's a
given to
mid card.
someone. And
Look,
it's
number
not
one,
she
it's a mid card title. No one's
but
gonna dispute that.
but all of it, this kind of stuff makes me feel really good inside as a fan because you watch someone do and you watch their journey. Someone like her, who like she's out there on the indies with Cardona bleeding
Oh yeah.
profusely. Like
Yeah.
she loves the business. She loves to perform. She loves to go out there and entertain. She you can tell she's willing to do anything
Look,
to
you got no complaints out of her for being the quickest eliminated from a Royal Rumble in
ever
women's match history, and she played that.
into a thing. She was walking around
Yeah,
like
because
with
a
garbage.
lot of athletes wouldn't take into that very well.
No, she walked around with garbage smelling like a dump for weeks because she got thrown in the dumpster.
Yeah,
She just
yeah,
leans into, she had the neck brace going after she fell
yeah.
off the ladder. Whatever you give her, she's going to do the pro wrestling version of that. She's going to go so far above and beyond. And I get, and you know her. So I'm sure when you're watching her, but when the moment when she wins, there's like a 10, maybe more like a 30-second where she's not the fake Chelsea Green. Like she's not Chelsea Green.
Yeah,
She's
right, right.
the real girl that you're seeing her look at that belt and be like, wow, they gave me this. Like I earned this. They gave this to me because what I've done for the last little bit. Like you could see her looking at it, and I'm going, wow, she's on NBC on Saturday night winning a
Yeah,
title, holding it up. That is
and I
about as
tell you,
cool as a moment as you could have.
watching that, that was a pro Chelsea crowd too. They every time she did something, they would cheer. Every time Mention would do something, they would boo. And I thought, man, if they go this other direction, this has this crowd's very volatile, and they may explode here if she doesn't win. And just a few days after since winning the title, she's went to Disneyland with the title. Um,
We got to
her
see the naked picture with it somehow, right?
We
There's got
got
to
to see
be.
the naked picture some way. Yeah. And I think her new T-shirt is like now it was number 1 or number 2 over the last 24 hours at WWE Shop Zone. I mean, that's very telling too, because the executives look at that stuff. If you can move merch, you're gonna be one of the stars. And this is a mid card title, no doubt, and this is perfect. There's a lot of people that could chase her with the title
She's going to
or
be
for the
honky tonk
title.
man. This is going to be perfect
Exactly. And she's got Piper with her
as
that
the
can help
heater.
her as the heater. This has the makings of something really, really good. And oh my God, just I can't wait to SmackDown when she's got that. Uh, Nick Aldis said something. He got on X after it. He goes, "Oh God, please help us."
Yep.
And after she had won it, and she goes, "I'll see you Friday, Saint Nicholas the Prickles," or something like that. And
That's
I'm like,
so
"Oh
great.
God, this is gonna be good." But kudos to her. Her gear was fantastic. Everything she did, the finisher was perfectly done.
And there
Just really good. Just a good person to win that title.
there's something that happens sometimes when someone is about to win a big match where they do the pin attempt and they hook the leg, and then the person pinning them, they start to like walk their legs. They're almost running with their legs. I don't know if you know what I'm saying, but like
Yeah,
it
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah,
you can see them excitedly like come on, come on, come on, like they're
yeah.
like doing like mountain climbers almost while they're pinning the person, like backwards mountain climbers. And it's like Chelsea was doing that. I think she was doing the climb with the legs, like come on, I
Yeah,
got, yeah,
yeah.
like you usually see it when someone wins their first big title, and it's cool. It gave me goosebumps to watch.
And
Just
she got the fireworks too, man. She got the
she
pyro. That's
she looked up at
really
the
nice.
pyro really like, and I think she even said like, "That's my pyro." I think
Yeah,
she even said, which is
yeah.
just awesome stuff for Chelsea Green. And like, shout out to Michin. She was like a nothing nowhere character. Not as a wrestler, she's always been very good as Mia Yim, but her character was nowhere, and they've kind of rehabilitated her
They did
because
to
with
a
this
nice single
hardcore gimmick.
superstar. Yeah.
Yeah, she's someone that you can slot in now anywhere. She could have another rematch with Chelsea. You could put her in a match against someone like a Nia Jax and have like a hardcore match, and that would
Yep.
be passable, and people would root for her. So she now has a role and a spot. We talked all about Cody and Kevin. Match was good. A lot of schmozzy stuff at the ending. The ref bumps. A couple of those ref bumps looked rough. I was like, oh man,
Oh man, Charles Robinson
Chuck
got it
Robinson.
good.
Oh, I know.
Little
That was
Nate, the
nasty.
little Nate.
He couldn't even get back in the ring. He had to count from outside the ring.
I
I don't
know.
know.
I'm like,
I
poor guy.
I wasn't sure
This
if I'd ever
even
seen that.
legal?
I don't know. I was like the outside the ring count. Okay, okay. And we got
That
to
match
remember
was what wasn't it? Wasn't it booked perfectly? I mean,
exactly how you would
seriously.
want. No, no, it's perfect,
Oh man.
perfectly. And um, you and I are recording on Wednesday, but I forgot right now. Just in just a few minutes, they're actually going to have a Raw Netflix kickoff show
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
WWE YouTube. So we'll watch that back afterwards and see. I wonder if they'll have any kind of. Sometimes they'll do like little storyline things there, where like someone will
Well,
interrupt someone
I know where Cody's going to be off TV for a minute.
a little
You
bit, yeah,
know,
to sell
so
this for sure.
so I was interested to see if they had even thought about taking the title off him, if he's going to be out prolonged, or if this is just, hey, we're going to give Cody some time off during the holidays because once Christmas is over and we get to January, the
The
road to
Rumble.
WrestleMania, yeah, officially begins with the Rumble. But uh, with the table spot, I'm all for the table not collapsing. I get it. It's probably more impactful in person if that table collapse, but I like it when it don't. And
Me
the
too.
RKO out of nowhere was phenomenal. It was just really good stuff. And then Cody got a pin. There was no ref. Then another ref comes in. He takes a bump, and then KO's got a pin, and the crowd's just counting 1, 2,
So
3,
great.
4, 5, and I'm like, oh no, this is great.
It felt old school. It felt like a Saturday night's main event. That was Saturday night's main event. That was also SmackDown. Let's talk a little bit about Monday Night Raw. I mean, the Punk Rollins stuff has just
Oh
been
man, woo.
fantastic. Really good back and forth with these two guys. Um, it it just feels like a huge match. I mean, it really does. I don't know exactly how they're gonna go, but they've set this thing up for January 6th. Punk
Yeah,
versus versus Rollins. And man, like I think Seth, like looking at him is probably a little bit like, damn it, these people still want to cheer for Punk even right now when I'm telling them
yeah.
how Punk, like, because Seth isn't lying about anything.
No, he's not.
It's like Punk left. He talked trash about us for years. I was here the whole time while he was talking trash, even when we were struggling a little bit. And now things are going well again, and everyone wants to forget about it. I didn't forget about it. It's
Dude, when they opened Monday Night Raw with CM Punk again, that song in Living Color, Cult of Personality, the fans just still to this day, it gets a Hogan like pop. It just does. I mean, I didn't think we'd see this. Uh, I really didn't. We keep going back to you and I both saying that WWE did not need CM Punk, and here we are. They kick off Raw with him, and it's just like, holy cow! Just still, this guy is massively over, and they did a really good job with that opening segment. Both guys really shooting at each other. The line about you've never headlined I've headlined more WrestleMania. There was some personal shots in there, and it makes, even if they don't like each other, it makes for a better storyline because these two guys just going at it, then Rollins breaking off the security and coming back through the other side of the arena. Man, that's going to be a big night on January 6th. So now we've got two really big matches for that first night on Netflix. So it's going to be exciting.
I have no idea how much of this is real or not, but as far as I'm concerned, it's pretty much all real. Like it sounds like it
feels
does
it to me.
It does sound, because I love listening to Wade Keller on the PW Torch because he's one of the more unbiased of all of the wrestling podcasts. Actually, he was one of the first guys along with us that was like, I don't really love everything AEW is doing, and was like pointing out some of the critiques and why it was going to be hurt them to continue to grow. And people will get mad sometimes, but he's always been very very like consistent about things that he doesn't like with both shows, things that he does with both shows. And I mean, getting into this, he said that he heard that Punk did a lot of that. Like Punk, when he left WWE, he kind of wouldn't stop talking to a lot of his friends from WWE, even though they didn't do anything to him.
Sure.
Like they weren't the executive, they weren't Vince, they weren't the doctor that Punk was super burned out with. But then on the flip side, you can kind of understand when you're Punk, you're kind of burned out. You don't even really want to talk to anyone over there anymore. You kind of want to just get away from it for a while.
I agree.
You know?
I feel it both ways.
Me too. That's what's great. They both think they're baby faces,
Yeah, and that makes it even more intriguing. I think that makes the storyline even more intriguing because you really don't know which way they're going to go with this.
No,
I really don't, and I'm actually looking forward to that match more than Roman and
Me too.
Solo. I really
Me too.
am.
This one feels like it could
It's
be
real. Yeah.
a main event of WrestleMania with these two guys,
100%.
honestly. And that's got to be Punk's story now. Everybody's got a story now. Punk's is, can he get to main event WrestleMania? I think for Seth will eventually get to the match that he has with Roman. And then maybe that's what it takes for Seth and Roman to have a handshake or a hug or something at the end.
Imagine those two guys are two of the last 3 or 4 standing in
the Rumble. Oh my gosh,
bro!
Yeah, because
you know what? Stuff.
I didn't even think about now Roman being in the Rumble.
Yeah, he's got to be.
Right? Oh my gosh, yeah. Which, just like the presence of him in the Rumble, like Roman, Cena, Punk, Rollins.
Yeah.
Could these guys
Cena's going to be involved somehow?
Wow, yeah. I didn't even think about that.
That's a big spot, bro.
There's going to be, and the craziest thing is the WWE is as hot as it's ever been right now. All this incredible stuff. We got Cena coming in a few weeks for the whole year to just like inject this new excitement for a guy who has just 1 year left. So, man, Braun Breaker is just a badass dude.
Man, what a match!
He's
Holy
a badass.
Cow, what a match, dude! That's just kudos to Ludwig General. Dude, that was a match that could have main evented anywhere in any promotion. That was as solid as you get. Really good, man.
The New Day stuff. And this is so real. Also, they're wondering why everyone's so mad at them. We didn't even beat up Biggie. We didn't even hit him with the chair. All we did was say some mean things. So after all of the years of positivity, one night like that, and none of you want to talk to us anymore. Rey Mysterio and
Ray got
is
involved. Yeah.
great. And they can go for the real baby faces to get even more heat. Guys like Rey Mysterio that everyone's going to cheer for. Do you think Big E is going to be able to wrestle soon at some point, like a Mania or something? Do you think that's
Man,
why they did this angle?
I hope so.
Me
I
too.
really do.
I
I hope so. Would it be the ultimate mood killer if he couldn't? No.
no,
No, but
but I agree.
uh
I
to
don't
see
think they
them
would have done
interact
it
and beat, yeah. Yeah,
if
to
they
see
didn't.
them interact with him and beat on him, that's going to be the shock where we really start throwing things into the ring that night. Because people
Because
are really going to be pissed off when that happens.
what they did with the War Raiders here, they've got them now just
Repackaged, yeah,
and not completely changed, but just more like regular
believable.
people.
Yeah,
Yes,
and those
not like
stories and those vignettes
you're
are
the
really good.
Vikings, and not that there aren't people like that, but it's just harder to relate to as a
Yeah,
fan.
not in professional wrestling anymore.
No,
80s, sure, it
that
was
was
all
an 80s
characters.
gimmick. You're right.
Now,
That was the
no,
character.
no
This is
way.
more, we're badasses that, and they felt just more like a couple of tough, badass guys. I thought that was a really good night for the Viking Raiders. I mean, overall, I really like a lot of what's going on. The stuff with the Miz and Karrion Kross is like in the best spot he's been right now.
It's
He's
just great.
he's cutting these really good promos. He's playing the Miz. I kind of thought it was really funny, and now the Miz has got okay, so he's got to they like pump the Miz up and they pump his ego up. So like they force the Miz to go in and ask for a match against Dexter Loomis. And they said, "You think Miz can beat Loomis?" No, no. But he's good right now. Like he's not coming off like that character who kind of is just speaking in like riddles and you don't really know what they're
Yeah.
saying. He's got real motivation here. He's
Now
talking about
let me ask you this on the other side of things. Has the Wyatt Six run its
yeah,
course?
I'm a little worried about them. I don't
What's happening here?
yeah, that it seems like they don't know what to do with them.
No.
That's
And what
that's
do
really
you do with them though?
that's the thing is that I don't know what their ceiling is. How high up on the card can they get? It, it does feel like they could do more with the character Uncle Howdy, like the Bo Dallas main character.
That's what I'm more concerned
Me
with.
too.
What are we
He
going to do
could
with
be
him?
doing more as a group. I don't know how much staying power the whole group would have, but where I started getting worried was they had that first week where we had the awesome Bo Dallas backstory, the video package. Then they did it the next week with Eric Rowan,
Sure.
and then they stopped.
Yeah, went
We
away. We
never
didn't get
got
one
that
for
with
Nikki
Nikki.
Cross.
We didn't get one for Loomis. We didn't get
Loomis.
one for Joe Gacy, right? We didn't get their motivations. And at that point, I felt like, I wonder why they didn't. And it's almost like they said, I don't know if this is going to work, or maybe we got to do this differently or that. And they just haven't been as all in with them. So, yeah, I'm a little worried about them getting over.
I just don't know what the purpose is right now, right?
Me
I don't
neither.
there's not a hey, this is what we're going to do.
No.
But
And that was always the kind of one of the problems with Bray or those characters is that they kind of feel like they're off on their own world.
yes.
They're not
Yes.
involved with the rest of
With a title
the
or
roster
yeah.
and the titles exactly. Like they're not in the mix with everyone else. They're kind of like it's like an Undertaker thing, you know?
Sure.
And that was for so many years why they didn't have the Undertaker involved in the title. Because it's like, well, you put the title on him, then it's kind of hard to get it off of him. You know? Like who's beating the dead man?
Yeah,
You know?
the Undertaker.
It was the same sort of thing with Andre for all those years until Hogan had the title. You didn't even want to put
slam him, yeah.
You didn't even want to put Andre in the title picture because how could he be beat?
The only guy he was really feuding with at that time at one time was like Big John Studd.
And King Kong Bundy, and that was it. Yeah.
That was it, because that's all you could really believe that was going to beat him or had a chance to.
Yeah.
So that worries. I wanted to bring that up because
I'm glad you did. It does.
That worries me about the Wyatt Six. I think if we could get Bo Dallas back on track with a Bray type character and get him, okay, this is what we're focusing to do. and we can get a run. If not, I don't know if it's going to work. We may see Nikki Cross back out there,
I agree.
just being Nikki Cross. So hopefully they can find something for them to do that's
Bo, they
meaningful.
got to get behind him at least a little more. Like
Sure.
he shouldn't be picking up random losses, and he should be more of like
No.
either a weekly character or get into some feuds here and there. There should be a little bit more with the Bo Uncle Howdy character. That was Monday Night Raw. We talked about how the Viking Raiders picked up the win in the main event there. So NXT, we had, I thought at the beginning was pretty cool. We had a video package going through moments that have happened in Lowell. So they had Shawn Michaels losing the smile, Samoa Joe over Nakamura. I feel like NXT is really doing well right now. I love the story with Axiom, this tag team of guys that like they kind of have some misunderstandings, but they're buddies. They're incredible wrestlers. They want to keep helping each other out. They almost screwed up because they both booked matches, and Axiom had to face Obafemi to start, and then Axiom had to defend their tag team titles to finish. You just watch Axiom and Frazier look so good in these matches, and Oba looks so dominant coming out of this. I think it hit exactly what it was supposed to hit. And
well, hell, wasn't Axiom in 2 matches this week?
Exactly. That's going to be their whole story. I think for a while is that they're trying to do a little too much. That's what Frazier did at the pay-per-view a couple weeks ago, and then Axiom did it here. So yeah, Frazier is a guy who at some point will have a Rollins match because Rollins, I think, trained him. So there's probably a storyline for him
sure.
at somewhere down the line, but these guys are incredible as a tag team. They are as good in ring as any tag team in AEW, Ring of Honor, TNA. Like these guys are as good as like Motor City Machine Guns on the main roster with their in-ring quality, and they're starting to get more comfortable together. Like I'm just going through a lot of NXT I like, except let me give you one hard except.
Okay.
Love Trick as the character. I think they've been doing a lot better with Eddie. I think Trick, some of his matches haven't been like, he needs a dance partner, I think, still. Okay. I think he's still young enough to where Trick needs to be led. He needs to be the guy that is being led. A lot of his main event matches haven't quite felt like the NXT main event matches normally have. So I do wonder if Trick doesn't have all that much more time. Like Carmelo's not really doing a whole lot on the main roster right now. Is that the way that you get a little more intrigue in Carmelo right around now when they're doing this transfer window? Do we see maybe a Carmelo and Trick paired together on Raw? I think that's the best for the both of them right now moving forward.
Yeah,
I think kind of got Trick. Like Trick now, what else does Trick need to do in NXT anymore?
I did like this finish though.
Oh, the finish
I thought it was a good finish for both of them.
It was creative and it keeps it open because now you can have, I think, a triple threat probably with Eddie and Trick and Oba. But some of the matches I want to get to are kind of like a Trick and Wes, Oba and Wes, and then getting to Javon as being like the next guy.
Hey, let's talk about Javon. Holy hell, what a segment with him and Ethan Page.
First off, Page, awesome work.
Was that the Shawn Michaels gimmick?
Yep, in the same place where Shawn did it. So he was doing the Shawn gimmick.
Great. Just when you thought, what do we do with Ethan Page, right? He was the champion, not for very long. He lost it. He's kind of floundering, kind of interfering. He's grumpy. And he goes and pulls this. Hey, man, this was probably, if the Punk Rollins segment wasn't so damn hot, this might have been the segment of the week for me.
It was.
Not, it belongs up there, top 2, 3.
Because Javon goes up there just being a super baby face, telling Ethan, I've seen you with your family. That's the real Ethan Page, not the all ego guy. Like you lean into the gimmick a little too much. Like be the real you. And then he even said, I'm proud of you. We're all proud of you. But you can, and so from Javon's perspective, wow, man, what a good young guy who's coming up there trying to help Ethan. From Ethan's perspective, who the hell is this 19-year-old kid telling me he's proud of me? Who are you? Right? Like, you can totally see why Ethan would smack him. And now it all of a sudden gives Ethan a bunch of heat. Javon had the blood capsules all over. Like,
oh, it was great. The teeth went missing. He lost his teeth in the
and
end.
I think that's what Vic said afterwards. I think there were a couple teeth in the ring. So this was one of the best segments of the week in all of pro wrestling. It was fantastic. Ethan was doing the really lay it on thick, over the top, dramatic. Javon came out, played super baby face, and now a ton of heat on Ethan. And you can have these guys in a perfect spot on the roster because they are probably a little bit above maybe like a North American championship. They might be, you know, as far as their characters are, but they're not at the main event. They're not in the title picture right now because they have been recently. So they're in that almost number one contender spot. You know, big match right below the title. You could see either one of these guys being pushed back into title contention coming off of winning a match against the other or this feud. Really, really good stuff. We just had Lash and Jakara pick up a win. I'm sure they're going to be coming up pretty soon, I think, too, because we've seen them on the main roster a couple times. I could see both of them being in the tag division. Jada Parker is someone, too, who she could be coming up not that long. She picked up a win over Ren. I could see her on the main roster. I could see her being like an IC title contender in not that long. And Ren stays down for a while. And in a month or two, Ren is going to be right in the title picture, I think.
Sure. Yeah, I agree.
After this current group of women like Roxanne and you've got Julia and you've got Stephanie, I think they're kind of at the top of the division right now. And then I think next up, you're going to start to get the Ren Sinclairs kind of moving up, Saul Ruka kind of moving towards the top, Kalani, you know, moving towards the top. That's that next group there in NXT. We had, Axiom and Frazier versus Gallus. That was an awesome tag team match that Axiom and Frazier pick up the win for. And I got to say, I know it's corny. I've been digging the Lexus King stuff. I'm digging
it has been better.
He's been better. Again, he's just being like an honest person instead of being like the cringy, over the top heel. He's being this guy that I'm better than this. Why isn't it working out for me? Why aren't things hitting? Okay, I'm going to try to do this the honest way. And he goes over to Charlie Dempsey and they're doing the workouts and it's like a Top Gun montage of them with no shirts on, like sweating, just like I think
he's been hard. Look, and I'm glad you brought him up. He's been a tough one to get behind and figure out.
Yeah, he has.
The tools are there.
And he's still really young.
Yeah, and you can see that he has the potential and he's had some moments, but I think this has been some of his better work since being signed with NXT, in my opinion. I agree. I'm glad you brought him up. I
think like for him, one of the feuds that he actually faces as a character is like, and as a person, how much do they want to lean into this stuff with his dad? I think Cody dealt with this early in his career, right? Like you don't want to be someone who's just your dad's son. You want to be more than that. But at some point, like the big babyface moment for this guy is when he comes out with like a Pillman Bengals jersey on, right? Or like he really leans into the dad and he says, you know what, Dad, like I'm going to do this for you. It wasn't perfect. I know you had struggles, but like I want to be a guy. And like he can kind of have like that mini finish the story angle that Cody has.
Sure.
You know, with his dad. But he's got to get there. I think that's kind of what he's doing as a character. He's coming to terms with like, to be a good guy, I have to embrace this. And I didn't care about him at all a while ago. I'm very intrigued in this. It's like a nice, slow, kind of reminds me of what they did with Ridge for a while. they just kind of keep laying foundation, keep laying some groundwork, keep laying some pavement there. This was a good, think about it. We just went through 4 or 5 different angles on NXT that were all really, really good. And I think next week, Santa's coming. Santa Claus is coming to town. I love the way
I don't think it was on NXT. It may have been on Raw, but there was a vignette of the Zero. Do you think
Penta.
Do you think that's maybe Penta? Or
I think so.
Okay.
I think that could be Penta. Penta could come in. What's nice about the way the roster is now, I mean, a guy like Penta, you could immediately come in and have him have a match with Ray, and it's a huge match. It's like you don't even have to build that much to it. You have him and Ray have a little bit of an interaction. You know who we haven't seen, I guess, just the last few weeks was Andrade, right?
Sure.
Maybe there could be something with Andrade. He had that fun feud going with Carmelo for a while where they had the best of 7 going on, but we haven't really seen him since. So guy like Andrade, Santos, we could obviously see any of them involved with Penta because Phoenix, his brother, is still being held hostage by AEW. Phoenix has like some dates left on his contract and they won't release him. I think the same with Ricky Starks. They had dates they had to fill, but because they were injured, they wouldn't be released. So Penta, go back and watch some of those old Lucha Underground. He was Stone Cold Steve Austin on that show.
Sure.
He was their biggest badass. That was like a badass heel that became a babyface because he was such a badass. Penta, it could work out really well because Penta could come in, be a singles guy for a little bit, and then when his brother's ready, those two could be in the tag team division and be awesome. So, I mean, having those two have matches with like New Day or the Usos or like Gargano and Ciampa, Motor City Machine Guns, that would be an absolute blast. I thought it was a really good week from Saturday night's main event, SmackDown to Raw to NXT. Good all over. Coop, as we finish up here, we're into bowl season. We only have 3 weeks left in the NFL.
Where's it going?
It is pretty crazy. Do you have anything out there? I know we're early in the week too. We're Wednesday, so I don't want to force anything on you. But if you have any plays you want to share, feel free. If not, we'll follow you on that at the Chad Cooper and check him out also.
No, I've got a couple little college football bowl action. The Cure Bowl, Friday, I'm in love. It's on Friday, and I also like the Cure.
Me too.
Hey, I've been riding high with Ohio U, the MAC champions, for a while. I got them earlier in the week at giving 3. I think the line now has went to 3.5, maybe into 4 against Jacksonville State. Of course, look, Jacksonville State won Conference USA. Their coach is gone. Rich Rod now is going to West Virginia. I think Ohio is just going to run all over them. Plus, Conference USA Bowl dogs coming off a win, which, Jacksonville State beat Western Kentucky in the CUSA championship. But CUSA Bulldogs are 2-7 against the spread. I like Ohio. I think they win by 2 scores. Staying on Friday, Tulane plus 13 is too good for me to pass up against Florida. The Gators are 0-3 against the spread in the last 3 bowl games, as they are favored by more than 7 points. And I'm going to take a shot with one of the playoffs, Indiana and Notre Dame. I know a lot of people are putting some money on Notre Dame to win this whole thing, which is fine. They can win this game all they want to. Just don't win by more than 8 points. I'm going to go Indiana plus 8 here. Bowlers who play their next game after their last win, which was by 44 or more points in a shutout. Remember, Indiana beat Purdue 66-0. They are 13-3 against the spread in that next game. I love that Indiana is 6-1 against the spread against teams that are above 7,500. Notre Dame 0-2 versus the Big Ten in bowl games. 3-11 against the spread in the last 14 bowl games against a team that's with a 600 or better record. Ohio U -3, Tulane plus 13, and the Hoosiers of Indiana plus 8, Gino.
I think that song was in a movie called Valley Girl with Nicolas Cage that I just
Friday, I'm in love.
I think so. I feel like because I'll Melt With You is in there. I think there's this montage when
No, it's got to be there.
right after he breaks up with the girl breaks up with him because her friends and her family doesn't want him around, and then
Wednesday, break my
Nicholas
heart.
Cage keeps popping up wherever they go. So like they go to the movies and he's the ticket taker with like the 3D glasses on. It's actually fantastic. Like really early Nicolas Cage. Valley Girl. Check that one out. Check out Chad Cooper at the Chad Cooper on Twitter and on Instagram, all over the place. Koopaloop, my friend. Thank you so much, buddy, for helping us out with another edition of This Week in Wrestling. We'll be back to talk with you next week about everything going on in the world of pro wrestling.